Paul Skenes is one of the most exciting rookie pitchers that baseball has ever seen. In just his first few starts, he's overpowered some of the best hitters in baseball by throwing up to 102 miles an hour. So it's no surprise why Skenes is suddenly getting so much attention.
Paul Skenes is the best pitching prospect I have ever seen. We are watching the opportunity to see a Hall of Fame talent throw a baseball 60 feet 6 inches.
However, just a few years ago, his future in baseball was pretty uncertain. And now, due to his high velocity, people are concerned that his career could be ruined by injuries. But to really understand how he got here, we need to go back to where it all started in the first place. He was born in Orange County, California in 2002, starting his baseball journey at just 7 years old. But even at a young age, he was already obsessed with the game, saying that baseball was the only sport I ever wanted to play. By the time he made it to high school, he mostly played as a catcher and was one of the best hitters on the entire team. But over the next couple years, it became obvious that he was even better on the mound. He started pitching as a closer during his junior year, putting up a 0.67 ERA while throwing up to 91 miles an hour. So as a result, he would start getting much more playing time as a pitcher, despite continuing to put up incredible numbers at the plate. Now, it's obvious that he was extremely gifted, but he was also just a big kid, standing at 6'1" when he first entered high school. However, he only continued to grow another 5 inches, putting him at 6'6" going into his senior year. Now, unfortunately, his final season was cut short due to COVID, but Skenes already knew what he was gonna do after high school. In addition to his dream of playing baseball, he had always wanted to be a pilot in the military. So when given the option to play baseball for the Air Force Academy, it was a pretty easy choice. After all, this would allow him to chase both dreams at the same time, or at least that's what he thought. In his first year of college, Skenes played in every single game, whether he was pitching, catching, or simply a designated hitter. But no matter where he played, he always put up incredible numbers. Over the course of 48 games, Skenes hit 11 home runs at the plate, while posting a 2.7 ERA on the mound. Not to mention, he was suddenly throwing mid-90s, and even reaching up to 100 miles an hour. Now, at this point, he was still pitching as a closer, but during his sophomore year, he was finally added into the starting rotation. And to no one's surprise, he once again dominated on both sides of the field. However, he was starting to realize that he couldn't pursue both of his dreams at the same time. Staying in the Air Force meant potentially putting baseball on hold in order to serve in the military. But as you can imagine, this was something that Skenes just wasn't willing to do. So despite his lifelong commitment to the military, he made the difficult choice of leaving the Air Force to solely pursue baseball. Now, obviously, this was not easy for Skenes, but luckily, his coach was more than supportive, saying this: "We're talking about millions of dollars he's leaving on the table if he stays here at the academy. He will serve his country in some manner moving forward. It's just going to be a matter of when." So, with the full support of everyone around him, Skenes announced that he would be transferring to one of the best baseball programs in the nation at LSU. This was definitely a step in the right direction, but his rise to fame had only just begun. Following his first 2 seasons with the Air Force, Skenes still considered himself as a two-way player. However, despite his value as a hitter, LSU was much more interested in his pitching. So, for the first time in his career, he would only be focused on one thing: becoming the best pitcher humanly possible. But to do that, he needed to make several changes. Up until that point, he mainly relied on a fastball and a changeup. However, he needed to work on developing several different pitches if he wanted to compete at a higher level. So throughout the season, he did just that, adding pitches like a slider and a curveball. And after pairing these with a fastball that was reaching up to 102 miles per hour, he suddenly became one of the most dominant college pitchers of all time. Over the course of that season, he posted a 1.69 ERA and set a record for the most strikeouts in a single season with 209. However, his success also came with concerns. For Skenes, there was no limit on how far he would push himself in order to win, which would become extremely apparent when he threw over 120 pitches in 3 of his final 4 starts. Now, keep in mind, he was consistently throwing over 100 miles an hour in each of those games. So, as you can imagine, this extreme workload led to concerns among fans and coaches. 124 pitches for Paul Skenes, pitched the 9th with a 5-run lead, totally unnecessary. 100% agreed, reckless and endangers the kid's future. And for what? In recent years, arm injuries among pitchers have been more prevalent than ever, and it makes sense why people would be concerned. However, despite the backlash, there was no denying that it was effective, and his team would go on to win the national championship at the end of the season. So by this point, Skenes was arguably the best prospect in the entire nation. And to no one's surprise, he was drafted number 1 overall by the Pirates in the MLB draft, receiving the largest signing bonus ever at $9.2 million. But somehow, he would only continue to get better as time went on. In August of 2023, Skenes made his professional debut in Single-A, facing 3 batters and striking out 2. However, it wasn't until he made it to Triple-A that he really started drawing attention. In his first 4 starts, Skenes didn't allow a single run, striking out over 50% of the batters he faced. However, despite his dominant performance, he was taken out of each game after only 3 innings. Now, it made sense for the Pirates to be cautious, but as you can imagine, this was extremely frustrating for Skenes. After all, being held back was the exact opposite of what he was used to, and after one of those games, he said this: "I wasn't happy. It's a little bit frustrating sometimes, but I mean, taking it slow is just how it goes." Despite his frustration, he made the most of the time he did get, and after 7 starts, he had an almost unbelievable ERA of just 0.99. So despite being in the minors for less than a year, he was obviously ready for MLB, and the anticipation for his debut was extremely high. However, nobody really expected the massive impact that he was about to have on the game of baseball itself. On May 11th of 2024, Skenes made his MLB debut in front of 35,000 fans, and he wasted no time giving them exactly what they came for. His very first pitch was clocked at 101 miles an hour, but despite striking out the first 2 hitters he faced, he ended up allowing 4 runs in less than 5 innings, which is not great. However, with 7 strikeouts and a fastball with an average velocity of 100 miles an hour, this was still a very promising debut, and it set the stage for a much more impressive outing. On May 17th, he took the mound for his second start, striking out the first 7 batters he faced, becoming the first Pirate to do so in modern history. Throughout the rest of that game, he continued to dominate, going 6 innings without giving up a single hit. But maybe the craziest part of all is that Skenes had now thrown 29 pitches over 100 miles an hour in only his first 2 starts. And not to mention, his breaking pitches were just as effective compared to his fastball. So really, it's no surprise why Skenes is such an effective pitcher, who's able to compete with some of the best hitters in all of baseball. Overall, Skenes put up a 2.29 ERA in his first 7 starts, going 4-0 with 53 strikeouts. However, he's done much more for the game than simply breaking records and making headlines. It's not often that baseball sees a player like Paul Skenes, and there's no denying his sudden impact on the sport. Before he made his debut, the Pirates saw an average of 19,000 fans in attendance per game. However, in his first 3 starts, that number suddenly jumped to almost 30,000. So despite the fact that he's only 22 years old, Paul Skenes is a rising superstar. Now, of course, there's definitely good reasons to believe that he may struggle with injuries in the future. But for now, I think we just need to focus on what he's been able to do in such a short amount of time. And it's pretty safe to say that Paul Skenes is one of the most exciting players in all of baseball.